This magical thing is the color cube. It's a box of colors and it comes with all of these different cards, and on the card is like a set color scheme that works. So it can be a great reference tool when you're starting a painting to just like pull a card and you've got a color scheme. It can also be like a fun way to just come up with ideas for things to paint. So like maybe you pull a card and it's blueberries. Maybe I'm gonna paint some fruit. That's a great idea. I love painting fruit. That is how the color cube works. On the back of the color scheme are the Pantone colors. If you are into Pantone colors and you want to look them up, there's that. I will put a link to the color cube. Nobody asked me to promote the color cube. I just love it. I bought it for myself. I find myself going to it a lot. So I did sign up to get like a little baby commission when you use my link. And that's the rules of commission, is that I have to tell you that. But it's not anything anybody paid me to do. I just think it's a cool tool to use. And there are a couple different versions I found out. Like Lacey has a different version than I do. So if you get through all these and you need more colors, there's like a whole other one that you can use. I was thinking for today, we would use it as a tool for color mixing. So I have pulled a card and we are going to attempt to mix these colors. And I wanted to just kind of paint something springy. And this felt like springy colors. And it also felt like colors that don't necessarily come in the color palette. The green and the brown, maybe a little bit. But so give ourselves a challenge of some colors to mix. I've been painting a lot in my travel size sketchbook. This is a smaller book than what I normally use. And I just think that painting small is kind of like my new favorite thing, because I feel like it really sets you up for success because you can do it super fast and you're going to be successful. It's tiny. I just painted that the other night in like 3 minutes. I swear it was so fast. So we're going to paint something springy and practice color mixing, and it's probably going to be pretty quick, I think. If you don't have a little book, just square off a little like section of your page or cut a little piece of paper. This is 5 by 5. I'm also going to use a size 6 round brush and a size 8 round brush, maybe not. I don't know. And then I've got my 24 color essential palette. If you don't have this particular palette, it's okay. This is a practice session. This is how you get to know your paints. So when we go through the color mixing, just pick something that is like similar to what I'm picking and see how it works for you. I think we're ready to paint. So we're gonna start this with mixing our color palette. And I'm just gonna swatch my colors on this side of my book. I'm gonna do my painting on this side. I'm just gonna swatch my colors on this side. If you don't wanna do that, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, just get a scrap piece of paper and swatch your colors on that. We're gonna just start with the green, since that's the first one. And it's actually going to be, I think, very close to the olive green. If you have olive green, or if you have my set, the olive green is going to be pretty close. Let's just test it. So yeah, I mean, so the other thing to keep in mind with matching to the color cube is that these colors are very saturated and deep. It's different than watercolor, right? And when I look at this, I can tell that this color is a little greener than what is here. What's here has just a hint of blue in it. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of indigo. Maybe, let's see. Okay, now it's too bright green. I can tell that's like a Christmassy green. So I want to tone this down a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of red, because red is the complement to green, and that's going to tone it down. That's going to tone it down a little bit. So we're adding just a little bit of red in here. And let's just test it again. Yeah, I think that's pretty close. That is pretty close to that. Let's see. Pretty close. This might have just a hint more blue. Let's try some aquamarine blue in there. Yeah, I think that's it. I think we got it. So this is how we mix colors. I just keep going until I find what works. Now I got to try to remember if I need to mix this up again. I had some olive green in there. There was a little bit of indigo, a little bit of ultramarine, and a little bit of red. But you know, I could figure that out again if I needed to. If I needed to mix more up, I could figure it out again. So this one is kind of like a fleshy color. And this is kind of a tough color to mix up. That's part of the reason that I chose it. I find this to be a somewhat difficult color to mix up. Let's do some Indian red. Let's do a little bit of Indian red. And then let's add some yellow ochre to that. I might have just done, I think I did too much yellow ochre. So now I'm gonna add some more of that red. And it's very orange. And this color actually has some pink to it. So I'm gonna try adding a little fuchsia. Let's just see what happens. Okay. So it's hard to tell because this is very concentrated and we're gonna need to lighten it up, water it down to see how close we are. So I'm just adding more water. Let's see. Okay. So it's too red. So I'm gonna go back to my yellow and I'm gonna add, this was yellow ochre. I'm adding yellow ochre in there. Let's just see. Again, it's a little bit hard to tell before it dries because like you can see this is starting to dry up here and it's actually not so far off. So this one, I'm gonna put a little bit more, maybe instead of yellow ochre, let's try a little bit of burnt umber. Let's try just a touch of burnt umber. And a little bit more water. Okay, I think maybe we got it. That's looking close, right? Just soaking up some of these puddles. So if you get puddles, you dry off your brush on a clean paper towel and then you can just kind of soak those puddles up. I think that's pretty close. So adding that little touch of brown toned down that oranginess that we were getting. And also I think I maybe watered it down a little bit more and that got me closer to this too. For this brown one, I'm thinking we're probably gonna use the burnt umber again. But this looks like that's got a little hint of red in it. So let's go back to that Indian red since we already used that. Add a little Indian red in there. And let's see. That's very close. Maybe a little bit more of the burnt umber. Let's see. So that darkened it up. I still feel like it needs a little bit more red. I'm gonna put a little bit more red in it. I think this is gonna be very close. I overlapped that one a little bit. I don't really care. Okay, that has a little bit more red in it. I think that's pretty good. I think we're gonna go with that. All right, now this blue is kind of a wild card. I don't know. I think in our painting, we're gonna use mostly these two and the pink. I don't know exactly how I'm gonna work the blue in. We'll figure that out. But the blue is a bit of a wild card. So since I know I'm not gonna mix, or I know I'm not gonna use a lot of blue, I think I want to mix the blue up on one of these smaller wells because I know I'm not going to need much of it. So this blue has a lot of green in it. So I'm thinking I'm going to go with my Prussian blue. Let me just turn it around because otherwise I'm going to end up spilling it. That blue is so far off from that blue. Okay, let's try adding some lake green. So this is a green that has a lot of blue in it. That's not too far. That's not too far off. I feel like I want it a little bit bluer. And instead of adding the Prussian blue this time, let's try ultramarine because ultramarine is more of a primary blue than the Prussian blue has a lot of green in it. Let's see how this looks. Oof, that's not it. I don't think that's it. It's too concentrated for one, so we need to water it down a little bit more. But also, let's see. That's it watered down a little bit. Maybe I just had it too concentrated because that doesn't look too far off. I think we're actually pretty close. I think I just had too much pigment in there. Let's just see if we lighten this square up. Yeah, I mean, I haven't added any colors or taken any, like I just diluted it. I didn't add any colors. So I think it'll be okay as long as it's really diluted. I think we'll go with this. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Is it still too... Is it still too green? Okay, I think we're gonna go with that. The only other thing that I can think to do is put more blue in it, but I'm afraid if I put more blue in it, it's gonna, well, we can make a little puddle. Let's move a little puddle over here. And let's just, that was too much. Add a little bit more ultramarine in there. No, I don't think that's it. Okay, I think we're gonna go with the first round. We're gonna go with this one. This one was Prussian blue with a little lake green, which is like a bluish green, and then we added just a little bit of ultramarine to that. So that's that one. And for the pink one, I think what I want to do is this last one. I think I want to take some of this. Let me flip this back around. I think I want to take some of this color and I want to just pink it up a little bit because I want these to really like feel cohesive. So I think if we start with the same base and then we add in, let's just see if we add in some fuchsia. If we add in a little bit of fuchsia, does that make it a little bit pinker? Wow, do you hear that? Can you hear the cars? That was a very noisy car. Let's see. I think that's going to be very close. And actually, going back to the blue, now that I probably should have dried these in between just to make sure that they were the way that I wanted them. But now that it's starting to dry, I do feel like that's very close. And the pink, this pink color, salmon pink, I think that's good. I think the pink is good. That is the color palette. So for our little painting that we're gonna do, we are going to use this color, the apricot, which I don't really think that looks like apricot, but we're gonna use the apricot as our background color, okay? And I'm just gonna make like a rounded off square here on my page, since I didn't tape it off. You guys are gonna think I'm obsessed with Katie Moody because I'm gonna mention her again, but she does a lot of her sketchbook pages without taping off her edges, and she just does these little rounded sections. And I guess I'm just a big old copycat because I just think it's kind of fun for something a little less precise than having the like very crisp edges. So the nice thing about painting small like this is everything does have a tendency to dry pretty quickly. But we do have to let this dry before we do our little springtime painting on top. Okay, it's dry, and I found another little binder clip. If you want to hold your pages flat, binder clips on either side are a good way to do that. I could not put my hands on one earlier, but I found one. Okay, so for this painting, I was thinking that it would be fun to do something in a pot, like a potted plant, because this reminded me of like a pot. I don't know. So we're gonna paint a pot. So this is very simple. If you guys have taken my beginner watercolor class, you know that we paint a potted plant in there. We're gonna do like a squared off shape that kind of narrows in down at the bottom and is wider at the top, right? That's a pretty standard pot shape. And I'm gonna leave just a little bit of the background showing down on the right side here as sort of a highlight. I want like just a little lip on the top of it. I'm thinking like terracotta pot. So another rectangle on the top. And then if you feel like it needs to be like a little bit wider, you can modify the shape to get it the exact way that you want it to be. So then I'm gonna go back to my color and I'm just gonna drop a little bit more of that color in on the side opposite wherever you put the highlight. The opposite side to that. We're just gonna drop in some more color to give us like that little bit of a shadow. And then once this is dry, we'll go in and we'll add some definition between that top rectangle and this bottom part. So for the next step is going to be to do the flowers, and I was thinking that we would do tulips. So I'm actually going to switch to my smaller brush for this, and I'm going to paint the tulips in a couple of different sections. So I did a video for this like not long ago where we painted big tulips, and this is the same process where we're going to just do an ovally shape, okay? Very simple. Ovally shape. And we're gonna do a bunch of these and do them at different heights in the pot. That one is very long. It's okay. Different heights in the pot. Maybe there's, you know how tulips go like, maybe there's one over here that's like kind of hanging over. Maybe we'll do a couple where they're like kind of hanging over the edge of the pot. Do I want another one? Another one right there. And maybe we'll do one right there. There's a lot of tulips in that growing in that pot. Okay, so now we have to let this dry. We got to let the tulips dry and we got to let the pot dry, and then we can come back. Okay, once it's dry, you can go back to the pot and we can sort of add that little line in down here just to give the indication that it's like a top, not a top and a bottom, but like there's like a little lip there. And we can darken up the side, that shadow side a little bit more. And if you want to soften up that edge, just get a little bit of plain, clean water on your brush and then just soften it up. So now for the tulips, I'm just cleaning off my brush. We're going to go back to that same pink color that we made before. And we're just going to, I'm going to turn my book a little bit so you can see, because I want to work, I'm right-handed, so I'm going to work left to right so that I don't drag my hand through it. We're just going to make another little ovally shape on this side and another little ovally shape on that side. And this is going to give us that nice layered look on our tulips. So we're just adding petals on either side. Maybe some of your tulips are more closed than others, and maybe some of them are already starting to open. Like let's make this one more open. And then we'll make this one a little bit more closed off. So we're just keeping it very minimal. But once it dries, it will look like tulips. So we're just gonna do all of those the same way. The only other things that we're gonna do are we're gonna add leaves and stems with our green, but we want our tulips to be totally dry for that. The other thing I want to do is I'm gonna use the blue to make a shadow under here. I think it'll work. I think it'll work. So you want to make sure that your pot is totally dry. Mine is pretty much dry. I'm gonna go for it. I could have regrets. We'll see. And we made this the shadow side, right? The left side is the shadow side because we've got our highlights over here. So I'm just gonna put in a shadow on that side. Is blue gonna work as my shadow? I don't know. We might have to just let this dry and see how we feel about it once the whole thing is done. It might work. It might work. I'm gonna bring this over just a little bit because there's that little lip right there that would be casting a shadow too. So that's it. That's the shadow. I can tell that some of these are already dry. That's what happens when you're painting tiny little things. It goes so fast. So those guys are already dry. I'm gonna go ahead and do my stems. I'm gonna do it. And again, I'm still using that size 6, the size 6 brush. And I'm just gonna put the stems in first. Make sure that we go behind the flowers that we want to go behind. Whoa, that one got really fat. If it gets fat, don't worry because you can always add a leaf. You can fix it with a leaf 100% and just cover it up. Just gonna get a little bit more paint on here. Okay, this one is so dark. I don't know why. I just took a little, I dried off my brush. I just took a little bit of paint out. Okay, so then for the leaves, same green that we mixed up, same size 6 brush. I'm just gonna start really lightly and then you can kind of press and lift to get that leaf shape. The tulips have very simple, well, those two are just like holding hands. I don't think I want that. I think I want them overlapping. One is longer than the other. Maybe this one is coming behind that tulip. I have said this so many times in other videos that like my go-to is to overdo leaves. So we're gonna try really hard to not to. To not to. Oh, that one's getting away from me. We're gonna see if we can erase that. It's because I need the brush going this way. There we go. To get that tip on it. Maybe that one's wrapping around the stem. Okay, what do we think? I think I need, first of all, this one needs to get a little bit wider. I think. A little bit wider. And then I think I need one on over here. So let's just do one just like that. And maybe we'll do one like that. Don't hesitate to move your book around if you need to. Okay, so in looking at my blue shadow, I think I'm gonna put some blue leaves in. Or maybe I'll just add like a little bit of blue. I feel like it needs to tie in. We're going off script. We're adding a little blue into our leaves. And I'm certain there will be some of you that are like, "Oh, you had me until the blue." I know. I do like adding blue to green though. I do think it does something. Okay. Just want to fill in some of these little spots down here at the bottom of the pot. I think that's kind of cute. I mean, if the purpose was to use the color scheme given to us, I feel like we did that, and I do think it's very cute. I gotta say, I really want more contrast underneath here. I'm just gonna darken this up again. There we go. And I also kind of want to just fill in some of this space. I'm gonna use some of my leftover paint, and we're just gonna overlap and make some squares. Just because I feel like I want this page to be more interesting. The swatch page. I just want to add some interest here. Let's see if we have some brown. This is not really a color scheme I've ever painted with before. Like this, doing the background and everything is not my normal colors. So for that reason alone, I think it's a fun exercise. You know, I think doing things with colors that you wouldn't normally, I'm gonna take this off, wouldn't normally use is always good practice, you know? I did just put that in. I knew that was going to be wet. I really want to put a blue square right there. But that guy's wet. So I gotta wait. I must wait. I must not be impulsive. Or you just get out the dryer and, as Lacey says, you just make it dry. If you're incapable of waiting, you just make it dry. Okay, there's our little color study. I think it works. Picking a color scheme that's outside of your norm can kind of make you uncomfy. Like sometimes you might be thinking, I don't know if this feels like me. And maybe it doesn't, but it's worth trying because it helps you learn about colors, learn about what you like, and develop your skills. And painting small can be a great way to practice those skills in a way that feels less intimidating and less time consuming. Thanks for hanging out.